And Joey, we had worked together last year. Worked for a major auto company, and just needed a change. Left the job, and was looking at a franchise business. So really excited. We're doing a 2-part series. We're going to talk about how we how you went from employee to employer, exactly what he was looking for in a business, and then how things are going now. So very excited for today. So Joey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited. I always throw that out there, and I know people get busy, so I appreciate the time. And by the way, let's continue these. Maybe we'll do another show a year out from now and see how things are going and progressing. So if you could just before we dive in, I had some questions I wanted to ask you, book recommendations and things like that. But I wanted to start off, if you can give the audience a little context, a little bio, background information.
Yeah, absolutely, Giuseppe. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Joey Romanczuk. I'm the proud owner of Resta Pros of Hudson County. Like a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, I was a corporate exec, so I was a general manager for a large automotive firm. Had done that for a number of years, grew to be a territory operations manager with a large customer service team underneath me. The long and short of it is we helped about 20 different service centers with customer service and customer interactions. I was by all means doing well. I was receiving promotions, getting better responsibilities, increasing my earning potential with the company. But what I didn't have was time. I didn't have time, weekends, holidays, you name it. If you were doing a Memorial Day weekend down at your house, there was no way I was going to be able to attend. So I started to look around at myself and I said, well, hey, I've done well and I've grown professionally, but at the end of the day, I don't have the same time that I wish that I had for things. I started to look at business ownership. I realized pretty quickly that I was in a little bit over my skis as I started to look at different business opportunities in the area. And that's what brought me to franchising. So you and I had plenty of conversations. We had conversations, positive and negatively, about my skills, what works. Is this going to be the one? Maybe this is the brand. And settled on Resta Pros. So we've been operational now for the last, call it 3 months. So it's still in the very early formative days for us, but especially with where I'm at as our business, still very close to the due diligence done to make this decision, and some of the early days after having made this decision. And I hope that some of my feedback helps others consider the same thing.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And one thing I'd like to mention, and we talked about this before the show, is, when you talk about feedback, just giving us the journey. It's not this clear transition. It's exactly, this is going to happen, and there's never going to be an issue or a hiccup or anything like that. And sometimes the expectations, things exceed the expectations. So I like how you're putting out, I don't know if it's weekly or every other week. I forget the frequency, but kind of an update. How things are going. This is it's a big transition, right? Going from employee to employer. I always say you go from signing the front, the back of the check, of your paycheck, to the front of the check. So talk to us a little bit about that transition. Just that's an emotional roller coaster, right? Having that consistent paycheck, responding to the employer. Basically, they're telling you exactly what needs to get done. You're just showing up. So talk to us about that transition. Talking about how that affected your family, your thought process, and what that looked like.
Yeah, it was a decision that I think, okay, let's back up. When you think about the decision to go from the corporate world of having a W-2 job to being a business owner, it is a binary decision where I need to make it, right? But at the end of the day, you're not making this on your own. And I think that was the thing that really helped me. This decision couldn't have been made without the support of my fiance, without the conversations of my peer advisors, my father, the people in my life who have been a powerful guiding light for me, so that I can tell whether or not, even though this sounds good, this sounds like something that we can do, that group advisory is really important to making sure that I'm receiving checks and balances of what I believe is a good decision. Right. I think the first place that I would take this is that feeling in corporate America of being like, whether it is you have a good job that you're happy with, but maybe some of your needs aren't being met. Maybe it's the feeling that you're being compensated or not compensated enough and want a little bit of a change. For me, it was, I said it before, it was time. I was working just about every weekend. Saturdays were mandatory, holidays were mandatory. And that to me was like the first little nugget of maybe something needs to change here. I want to start working to get a little bit of this time back. And as I continued to grow, I thought to myself, I've experienced a number of promotions, and that's
Right.
only brought me increased responsibility, but also just like increased time and presence in some of these roles. I was working for a company who, the higher you grew, the more involved and invested in all aspects you had to be. And so for me, the only piece that was missing was the business ownership, because I believed that the better manager I was, the better I could maximize my people, the less I should have tactically that I need to do day to day. And it just wasn't the case. I was very much so like this piece in the machine that had to make certain things go. And when I wasn't there, things weren't able to advance in a way that.
Joey knew he needed a change, but with over 4,000 franchise opportunities, how did he narrow it down? He reveals the 3 non-negotiable criteria he used to find his perfect franchise fit.